Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new here. For those of you who don't know, my name is Hiba, and here on my channel I like to cover recent missing person cases. Today we're going to be talking about Cassie Sheetz again. Before we get into it, I just want to say that there were a lot of disrespectful, insulting comments on my previous video about this case, and that will not be tolerated here on my channel. Of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but hateful comments will be deleted. The purpose of this video, and really all the videos on my channel, is to raise awareness and support victims and families. So now that that's out of the way, let's just go ahead and jump into it. So like I said, I've covered this case numerous times on my channel, but I wanted to highlight something important that could provide further insight as to what potentially happened the day of Cassie's disappearance. And if you don't know who Cassie Sheetz is or her story, I recommend you go ahead and watch my other videos about this, which will be linked below. But I'll provide a quick overview of what happened here. Cassie Sheetz, a 24-year-old woman, disappeared on Thursday, March 11, 2021, near Spruce Knob in Pendleton County, West Virginia. Cassie supposedly disappeared after she went hiking with two male friends, Sager and James Brill. According to Grant and James, the group of hikers became separated from each other at some point during the night, and while the two men were able to find their way out of the trail, Cassie was not. Now, nearly 2 months later, Cassie is still missing, and we still have no answers. So in my last video about Cassie, I shared pictures of the trio from the day of the hike, and I'll include those pictures here. And in these pictures, we see that Cassie was wearing a black tank top and camo pants in the picture. And while it's not pictured, it was also reported that Cassie had a black hoodie that day. And it's believed that these pictures were caught by putting the photo in the tree. I had previously wondered if this was the case, and after some further research and talking to some people, I do believe that this was probably the case. In my previous video, I commented on Cassie's clothing and questioned why she appears to only be wearing a tank top, because it was so cold that day and it was raining and there appears to be snow on the ground. But the focus of this video will actually be on Grant's clothing. So in the photos, which again were believed to be taken on the hike that day, Grant is seen wearing a gray shirt, camo pants, and a black hat. I'll zoom in and insert the picture here so we have a clearer idea of his outfit. So again, this picture was taken on Thursday, either that day or into the evening when the trio were allegedly hiking. But on Friday, when Grant was located, it's believed that he was wearing something completely different. So according to a passerby on the mountain that day, Grant was wearing a black short-sleeved New York t-shirt, khaki pants, and what appears to be a different black hat. I'll go ahead and insert some pictures captured here. So in the pictures, we see that Grant has his arms fully inside the shirt, probably because it was so cold and he was probably trying to warm himself up. Unlike the sport cap that Grant was seen wearing in the first picture, where he was with his two friends, James and Cassie, it appears that he's wearing some sort of beanie or pullover cap in the second photo when he was found. So the big question here is, why would Grant change his clothes, especially into something that was less warm when it was raining and there was snow on the ground? And when would he have had the time to do this? One theory is that Grant may have hurt Cassie while they were in the woods, and that might have resulted in her blood or some other evidence ending up on the first set of clothes that he was wearing. To try to avoid being caught, Grant may have changed into a second pair of clothes that he might have had in the trunk of the car. And the second pair of clothes being in the trunk will actually explain the broken rear window. So if you remember in my previous videos, I mentioned that the men claimed that they broke the rear window of the car to gain entry into the car for warmth. However, I also mentioned that it would have been easier to break the driver's window or passenger's side window and gain entry that way. So why then did they break the rear window? Well, say Grant's clothes were bloody. If this were the case, it would make sense to break the rear window in order to avoid getting the interior bloody as well. If Grant's clothes were indeed bloody, it would make perfect sense to want to avoid getting into the car in order to avoid getting the upholstery and the interior of the car bloody as well. This way, less evidence would be left behind in the car. Remember, in the men's original story, Grant re-entered the woods to search for Cassie after she didn't re-emerge. However, is it possible that Grant actually re-entered after he changed his clothes to discard the bloody clothes he originally had on? While Grant claims that he fell when he re-entered to search for Cassie, which may have left him muddy or wet, he never returned to the car as far as we know. This was never part of his story. So that strikes out the possibility of him changing after the fall, if that ever even happened. Also, even if he were to fall and get muddy or wet, I doubt his first priority or a friend's first priority would be to change if their friend is missing and they're still in the midst of searching. I just want to clarify, the reason I'm focusing on Grant here is because I don't have much information about James. Unfortunately, I don't have photos of James when he was found to compare to the trio's hiking photo, so I'm not sure if he changed his clothes or not. If he did, I obviously question why and whether he may have been trying to conceal his involvement in what may have happened happened to Cassie that night. But even if James didn't change, he was present that night, and it's entirely possible that he knows more than what he's saying and exactly what happened. Ultimately, I believe that someone knows something and that they just need to come forward with that information. Like I said, it's been nearly 2 months since Cassie's been missing, and we have no answers. You'll have to let me know if you think it's odd that Grant changed his clothes. I can't really think of any logical reason for him to do this, especially because he changed into clothes that were less warm. So if he had bundled up and put something on that were warmer, I could reason with that and say that he were cold and that he just wanted to get warmer. However, he put on a t-shirt instead of his long sleeve shirt. So again, you'll have to let me know what you think about this. Like I said, Cassie is still missing. She is 5'3" and weighs approximately 120 pounds. She has blonde hair and blue eyes. At the time of her disappearance, Cassie was believed to be wearing a hoodie and camouflage pants. If you have any information about Cassie's whereabouts, please call the number down in the description below. As always, all my sources will be down in the description below, but just like my last video, a lot of my sources from private individuals. But thank you so much for watching and for listening to Cassie's story, and I'll see you guys in my next one.